YouTube, it's me, Bergie, and I'm here with a new video. Now, before I get into it, I apologize for any noise you hear. The heating is on and I cannot control the noises it makes. And I can't control whether the heat is on or off because I live in an apartment. But anyway, hopefully you can deal with that. In today's video, I am going to discuss the books I'm looking forward to that are being released in 2019. I know this is late, but I don't have an excuse. I still wanted to make this video, so that's why I am posting it, and I feel like not a lot of these books were mentioned in any of the other 2019 anticipated releases that I've seen other booktubers make, so I'm hopefully going to be telling you guys about some books that you did not know were coming out in this year and that you would likewise be excited for. So let's get into it. First up, there are two books on this list that already came out. First is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. This came out on January 15th. I'm not really sure what this is about. I'm on the Goodreads page, that's why I'm looking over here, so I can see what it's about. But the main reason I am interested in reading this is because I have read her Arusha book, which is part of the Rick Riordan Presents imprint, and even though I wasn't 100% impressed with it, I am interested in reading her other books, and I follow her on Twitter and she's been talking a lot about The Gilded Wolves, so I'm kind of really interested in seeing what it is. But it says on Goodreads that this is set in Paris in 1889, where the world is on the cusp of industry and power, and the Exposition Universelle has breathed new life into the streets and dredged up ancient secrets. In the city, no one keeps tabs on secrets better than treasure hunter and wealthy hotelier Severin Montagnet-Alary, but when the all-powerful society, the Order of Babel, seeks him out for help, Severin is offered a treasure that he never imagined, his true inheritance. So it does kind of sound like a heist novel, and what she said on Twitter about the book does make it sound like a heist novel. Now, I've not read like Six of Crows, which is a very hyped heist novel on BookTube, but I'm interested to see how this one turns out, especially because from what Roshni Chokshi has said on Twitter, Severin seems like a very sassy character, and I love sassy characters, so I'm interested to check that one out. Also released on the 15th of January was Dragon Pearl by Yoon Ha Lee, which is the third Rick Riordan Presents book that has been published, and I do want to keep up with reading these books because it seems like a very great way to get introduced to more mythological and culture-based stories. So I think it's a great thing that Rick Riordan's doing, and I might find a new favorite author from this imprint. So Dragon Pearl, this is, I think, a Korean-inspired sci-fi novel, or Korean mythology sci-fi novel. But it says on Goodreads that to keep the family safe, Min's mother insists that none of them use any fox magic such as charm or shapeshifting. They must appear human at all times. Min feels hemmed in by the household rules and resents the endless chores, the cousins who crowd her, and the aunties who judge her. She would like nothing more than to escape Jinju, her neglected, dust-ridden, and impoverished planet. She's counting the days until she can follow her older brother Jun into the space forces and see more of the Thousand Worlds. So again, it is a sci-fi novel, which we haven't really seen with the other Rick Riordan Presents novels, so I'm interested to see how this one goes, and I'd love to learn more about Korean mythology. So that one, I am definitely hoping to check out. Next up is The Test by Sylvain Nouvelle, which is supposed to come out, the first time I saw this, it said it was going to come out on February 12th, but it has since changed to March 1st. This is definitely on my list, and it's a book that I haven't really heard many people talk about, which is kind of funny because his other series, The Themis Files, is a book series that has been hyped on BookTube and is why I am kind of now I know his writing and why I'm interested in other things he writes. So I'm kind of surprised that not a lot of people have talked about this. But anyway, so this on Goodreads says that it is a science fiction novel, and its description says, Britain, the not too distant future. Ideer is sitting the British citizenship test. He wants his family to belong. 25 questions to determine their fate, 25 chances to impress. When the test takes an unexpected and tragic turn, Idir is handed the power of life and death. How do you value a life when all you have is multiple choice? So that sounds interesting. And even though it doesn't really tell too much about the plot, it does seem to have the same science fiction-y notes that his other series did, just not as much to the forefront, I feel like, and it seems like it will be just as thrilling, if not more, than that first series. So I'm definitely interested in checking this out. Set to be released, again, this has changed. I originally had it posted for March 5th, but now it's saying June 4th, is Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi, which is the second book in her Legacy of Orisha series, which started off, of course, with Children of Blood and Bone. Now, even though I did not love Children of Blood and Bone as much as everybody else did on BookTube, I'm still interested to see where the story goes, because I feel like Tomi Adeyemi could get better with her writing and with her handling of the plot and characters and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm interested in this. The first book was, I've heard people pretty much summarize it as being a black fantastical version of oh my god, I'm forgetting the TV show. It's totally escaping me. Avatar, The Last Airbender. There we go. So again, the first book was kind of a more black-centered fantasy version of Avatar, The Last Airbender. And I did enjoy it, just didn't think it was as great, but again, I do think I'm hoping at least it'll get better, and I'm definitely would want to check this out, although I might not buy it right away. I'd probably check it out on my library. But yeah, so that's on my radar. Then we have The Women's War, which is going to be published on March 5th. Now this I've already read. I read an arc in November, I feel like, and I actually really enjoyed it. So even though I might not buy it right when it comes out, I definitely would recommend other people check it out, because I thought it was a very great feminist fantasy that wasn't too overbearing, but the feminist aspects felt necessary to the plot, and it was interwoven nicely, and again, wasn't in your face. It felt more natural and organic. I'm thinking I'll probably post a review on this book closer to its release date, but yeah, this is definitely a series I'm looking forward to following up on, and I can't wait until the second book. I just remember the end of the first book was amazing, and I really need the second book. I'll probably have to reread this closer to when the second book gets published, but I totally wouldn't mind doing that, because I did really enjoy the magic system, the character building, the world building of this story, so I definitely recommend this. And again, I'll try to post a review on this book closer to its release date, which is March 5th. Next we have Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez, which is another Rick Riordan Presents book, and this will be published on March 5th. Again, I don't really know much about this, because I'm solely wanting to pick it up because it is a Rick Riordan Presents book. But here it says on Goodreads, how did a raw chicken get inside Yasmani's locker? When Sal Vidon meets Gabi Real for the first time, it isn't under the best of circumstances. Sal is in the principal's office for the third time in 3 days, and it's still the first week of school. Gabi, student council president and editor of the school paper, is there to support her friend Yasmani, who just picked a fight with Sal. She's determined to prove that somehow Sal planted a raw chicken in Yasmani's locker, even though nobody saw him do it, and the bloody poultry has since mysteriously disappeared. Sal prides himself on being an excellent magician, but for this sleight of hand, he relied on a talent no one would guess, except maybe Gabi, whose sharp eyes never miss a trick. When Gabi learns that he is capable of conjuring things much bigger than a chicken, including his dead mother, and she takes it all in stride, Sal knows that she's someone he can work with. There's only one slight problem. Their manipulation of time and space could put the entire universe at risk. A sassy entropy sweeper, a documentary about wedgies, a principal who wears a Venetian bata mask, and heaping platefuls of Cuban food are just some of the delights that await in his mind-blowing novel, gift wrapped in love and laughter. So yeah, that sounds interesting. It seems like this might not necessarily be a mythology-inspired book within the Rick Riordan Presents imprint, but more so just based on a specific culture, and I'm guessing Cuban culture, but I'm not sure. I really don't know much about this. Again, I'm just reading it because it's a Rick Riordan Presents book. And again, that comes out on March 5th. Then we have, for April 2nd, The Astral Traveler's Daughter by Casey Archer, and this is her second book in her School for Psychics series. I read the arc of the first one early last year. I saw the potential for it, even though it wasn't a perfect 5-star read, but I am interested to see what happens next. So in the first book, School for Psychics, Teddy ends up at a school that has to do with different psychic abilities, and there was a mystery that went on. I'll have to definitely reread the first book. Probably should read a finished copy just in case there are any changes from the arc, although I doubt it. But yeah, this is definitely one I'd have to refresh myself on, the first book. Then we have, for April 16th, Aru Shah and the Song of Death by Roshni Chokshi, and this is the second book in her Pandava quartet. Now, I didn't super love the first book, but I'm hoping that within the second book, it'll hopefully get better and kind of diverge from the kind of Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson framework that I felt that the first book kind of fell into too much and wasn't as original as I was hoping. But anyway, this series is again a Rick Riordan Presents book, so I'm gonna read it for that. And also it's about Hindu mythology. That's definitely a mythology and culture I don't know much about, so learning more about it through these books is definitely a plus and a reason why I would want to continue on. And again, her writing wasn't awful, it just wasn't the best. So I'm looking forward to that. Then May 7th, we have Aurora Rising by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I loved their Illuminae series, so I knew the second that I saw that they were coming out with another book together, I definitely wanted, or book series, sorry, together, I wanted to pick it up. And this sounds like another sci-fi series by them. It says, the year is 2380 and the graduating cadets of Aurora Academy are being assigned their first missions. Star pupil Tyler Jones is ready to recruit the squad of his dreams, but his own boneheaded heroism sees him stuck with the dregs nobody else in the academy would touch. A cocky diplomat with a black belt in sarcasm, a sociopath scientist with a fondness for shooting her bunkmates, a smart-ass tech whiz with the galaxy's biggest chip on his shoulder, an alien warrior with anger management issues, a tomboy pilot who's totally not into him, in case you were wondering. And Ty Squad isn't even his biggest problem. That'd be Aurora Jilin O'Malley, the girl he's just rescued from interdimensional space. Trapped in Cyro sleep for 2 centuries, Ari is a girl out of time and out of her depth, but she could be the catalyst that starts a war millions of years in the making, and Tyler's squad of losers, discipline cases, and misfits might just be the last hope for the entire galaxy. So that sounds interesting, and it sounds like it'll have all the sassiness and sarcasm that their Illuminae files had. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. Then set to release on July 16th is The Philosophers War by Tom Miller. This is his second book in his untitled series, the first of which was The Philosopher's Flight. I did not really intend on getting The Philosopher's Flight, but I ended up going to a Book of the Month event where you get a free book, so I was like, why not? This book was yellow and I love yellow, so I was like, I'm gonna get this book. And I actually really enjoyed it. It is a fantasy book that rewrites our history during, I think it was around events surrounding World War I, but there's a magic system that changes how history ends up. And I thought it was really good. It was quite slow to get through, but it was all necessary because he had to craft the magic system in the world. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading the second book, and hopefully it'll be just as good. There is not any like synopsis for this, so that kind of gets me a little bit worried. Oh wait, no, there is. I was just on the wrong link for it on Goodreads. So I'm definitely interested in reading that. Then we have another J. Kristoff book, which is set to be published on September 3rd, and that's Dark Dawn, the third Nevernight Chronicle book. And even though I've only read Nevernight, I did like it enough, and I definitely see myself wanting to read the third book and then eventually wanting to finish the series. And this is about Mia, a trained assassin. And after the events of the first book, I'm kind of interested to see what happens, of course, in the second, and then how her story ends, because in the first book, like the first chapter, we find out that she dies, I think, by the end of the series, so excited to see how that goes. Next, we have set to publish on September 10th, The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, which is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. Now, this I'm kind of iffy about. I'm definitely going to read it, but I don't know if I'll enjoy it, because The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopian, and I feel like true dystopians are meant to only be in a single book. I'll get into reasons in other videos specifically on dystopians, but I feel like dystopians are made for a single standalone book, and I feel like by adding more to the story, it won't be as true a dystopian as it was with just the first one being alone. And I'm sure everybody knows at least what The Handmaid's Tale is about. It's a dystopian novel where it's hard for women to get pregnant, so because of this, they've kind of created a caste system of women. They're the wives of the husbands, who are kind of like the elite, but they usually can't produce children. So they then have, I forget the actual term for them, but kind of the in-house concubines who are meant to birth the family children, and they're the lowest, but they're kind of the most important because they're the only people who can bear children. And then the third caste are just like servant maid women that cook and clean and do all that kind of stuff. So it does say that this is set 15 years after The Handmaid's Tale, so I'm kind of interested to see where this will go. But again, I'm very wary with this book because, again, it might change its true dystopian status. And again, that comes out September 10th. Then we have The Firekeeper by J.C. Cervantes. This is the second in her Stormrunner series, the first of which was the Stormrunner, and both of these are Rick Riordan Presents imprints. I haven't yet finished the first book, but I definitely want to keep my eye out on the second book. I'm not sure if I'd buy it or just borrow it from the library, but again, as I've said multiple times throughout this video, I do want to keep an eye out and read all of the Rick Riordan Presents books. And this is a series based on Mayan mythology and Mayan / Hispanic, mostly Mexican culture. Then what I think is my most anticipated read or release, for the entire year is, of course, a Rick Riordan book, and it's the fourth Trials of Apollo book called The Tyrant's Tomb. After the events of the third book, I really have no idea where he's gonna go with this series, and I'm just excited to pick it up. This is definitely a book where I'm going to buy it the second it comes out and read it the second it comes out. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is the third Greek / Roman mythology related book that Rick Riordan has written, and you really should read Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus series before you get to this one. But if you've done that, then this series is all about Apollo's fall as a god, becoming immortal, and trying to get back his immortal status. And there's going to be 5 books in the series, so we're at the penultimate one, so I'm sure a lot of things are going to go down to set up the big events for the 5th book. So I'm I'm really excited for this one. Again, it comes out September 24th. Then the last 3 books on this list are books that do not have dates, but I'm pretty sure are going to be coming out sometime during 2019. The first is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. This is the 3rd and I think final book in his Arc of a Scythe series. I read the first 2 books in 2018 and I absolutely love them. And I'm excited to see what happens, especially because at the end of the 2nd book there was a huge cliffhanger. And I need to know what happens. So hopefully this comes out earlier in 2019 rather than later, but as of now, there is not any information on it. Another book that does not, as of now, have a date, but which I'm thinking is coming out in 2019, is The Secret Commonwealth, which is the 2nd book in his Book of Dust, or in the Book of Dust series by Philip Pullman. So this series is a companion series to his Dark Material series, which I read in 2017 and really enjoyed. The first book was La Belle Sauvage, which took place before Pullman's Dark Material series. And this book says it's going to be set 20 years after the events of La Belle Sauvage and 10 years after the events of his Dark Materials trilogy. And it says it will feature Lyra Silvertongue as a 20-year-old undergraduate traveling to Central Asia via the Levant, which is definitely very interesting. I love to see more of Lyra because we didn't really see her in La Belle Sauvage, or at least not really. I don't want to get into spoilers, but I'm definitely interested in reading this book. Again, no release date, so hopefully it comes out sooner rather than later in 2019. And finally, we have Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is another Rick Riordan's Presents novel, and its expected publication is sometime in September, so at least we have kind of a date for when it'll be published. But I really don't know much about this. It just says a 7th grade girl and her brother, aided by various Navajo gods disguised as relatives, must stay one step ahead of a shape-shifting monster as they follow in the footsteps of the legendary hero twins to save their family. So it seems like this is going to be a Native American mythology / culture book series. So I'd love to get more information again on Native American mythology, because I haven't really encountered much of that, so it'll be cool to see another mythology being represented, and hopefully I really like it. But yeah, so those are all of the books I am looking forward to their release in 2019. There might be other books that I'll look forward to after they come, or after they're released. But as of right now, these are all of the books that are on my radar and I'm most likely going to get to this year. Those are all of the books I am very much anticipating their releases for 2019. If you guys have any that you think I should put on my radar, please let me know. I'd love to know your suggestions. And I hope through this you've learned of some more books that are interesting that are coming out this year. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.